Okay, here it goes. Hey, if you do anything wrong in your life, and I find out about it, I'm gonna try to take everything away from you. And I don't care when I find out. Could be today, tomorrow, 15, 20 years from now. If I find out, you're fucking finished.
Dave Chappelle's new Netflix special, The Dreamer, and some of his podcast appearances has Hollywood freaking out. He's exposing the industry's ugly side, and it's got the woke crowd seriously mad. So why can't woke liberals handle his jokes? And what did he exactly say? They got the whole media trying to cancel him.
Americans generally respect one another's beliefs, even if they don't share those beliefs. I know I do. I respect everybody's beliefs except Amish people.
In a time when everyone's walking on eggshells, Dave's out here saying exactly what's on his mind. His Netflix special has the woke crowd fired up, calling it offensive and way out of line. But honestly, maybe that's the whole point of comedy.
The rule is that no matter what you do in your artistic expression, you are never, ever allowed to upset the alphabet people. You know who I mean.
And that's exactly why people can't get enough of him. He doesn't follow the rules. Chappelle speaks his mind, even if it means poking fun at woke ideas. And let's be honest, this isn't his first time. Remember the closer?
I am not saying that to say that trans women aren't women. I am just saying that those pussies that they got, you know what I mean?
The closer stirred up some serious drama outside Netflix's office, with people demanding it be pulled. But Netflix stood its ground, and Chappelle didn't apologize either.
And to this day, the answer is the same. Well, I don't know what I would have done. I've never been in a situation that extreme.
Now, with The Dreamer, Chappelle's going even harder, calling out woke culture with a sharper punch. One of the biggest moments from the special is when he jokes about meeting Jim Carrey while filming The Man on the Moon.
He says, I'm doing a movie with Jim Carrey. Do you want to meet him? And I said, fuck, yes, I do. And it was the first time I could remember since my father died being excited. And the movie was called Man on the Moon. I didn't know any of this. And in this movie, Jim Carrey was playing another comedian I admired, the late, great Andy Kaufman. Yes, and Jim Carrey was so immersed in that role that from the moment he woke up to the time he went to bed at night, he would live his life as Andy Kaufman. I didn't know that. When they said cut, this nigga was still Andy Kaufman.
It starts off harmless, with Chappelle talking about how Jim Carrey stayed in character as Andy Kaufman the entire time, which he found pretty weird. But then Chappelle flips it, taking the joke in a totally unexpected direction.
But as it was happening, I was very disappointed. Because I wanted to meet Jim Carrey, and I had to pretend this nigga was Andy Kaufman all afternoon. Anyway, I say all that to say, that's how trans people make me feel.
Of course, the woke crowd went wild, calling the joke transphobic and demanding Netflix to step in. But Chappelle made it clear, no one's telling him what he can or can't joke about. And honestly, isn't that what comedy is all about? If you think that was crazy, wait until you hear his LeBron James joke.
When I watch sports, I be thinking about, think about, okay, say LeBron James changed his gender. You know what I mean? Okay, can he stay in the NBA, or, because he's a woman, does he have to go to the WNBA where he will score 840 points a game?
It's classic Chappelle, using humor to highlight the dark truth that people are too scared to address. And of course, the woke crowd didn't take it well.
I said what I said, and boy, I heard what you said. My God, how could I not?
As if stand-up wasn't enough, Chappelle recently appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience, and that episode hit like a bomb in the woke world. Chappelle and Rogan, two of the most canceled figures in the entertainment industry, sat down and went all into woke culture, cancel culture, and the craziness of today's world.
Congratulations. You're the first guy to beat the system. You're the first guy to get fucked over by the system, go public with it, and then get your money. I've never heard it happen before. I don't think it's ever happened before.
He talked about how woke institutions are trying to control comedy, pushing comedians to say the right things and follow the approved narrative. And Joe Rogan is just as against that.
You know, if it's this hard being a comedian, I can't even imagine. Even a guy like Obama, I think about it, that shit looks really hard to do being black.
The two couldn't help but laugh at how ridiculous things have become. Chappelle even admitted he turned down countless sponsorships because he knows companies will pull their money back the second he says something they don't like.
In your case, you made a ploy. Like you said what happened, how you felt about it, and they were like, he's right.
I think, yeah.
Let's give him the money.
It wasn't a court of law. I don't believe I would have got anything.
It's kind of amazing.
In a court of law. I think in a court of public opinion, it was a good time for me to say my piece. And through the years, it wasn't something that I would harp on. When I did interviews and stuff, people would always ask me about it, but it was something I was actually reluctant to talk about. It was a lot.
For Chappelle, it's not about the cash. It's about keeping his comedy real, staying true to his voice, and standing up for free speech. Him and Rogan are like an unstoppable team, leading the wave of comedians and creators who refuse to let the woke mob shut them down.
You know, the bottom line is no matter what happens to you, you got to keep going.
You got to keep going.
And bitterness is quite cumbersome.
Yeah, it's bad for you.
Right.
Let's be real. Their conversation on the Joe Rogan Experience was a masterclass on how to push back against cancel culture.
You get out in that world, Joe, you're famous everywhere. You've never been to these places, but when you get there, they're going to know you. Or there's a thing that happened to me years ago in London where I was in a restaurant and I was kind of waiting for the table, and when the lady, she asked me my name. She said, "What's your name?" I go, "David." She goes, "Well, this is David on the list. What's your last name?" I go, "Chapelle." And she looks up, and I look around, and everyone's kind of looking. I could tell they had heard of me, but they didn't know that was me.
Oh, right.
It was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This was after I quit the show, but not long after, like 05, 06.
It's not just Chappelle and Rogan taking a stand. UFC President Dana White has backed Chappelle too, calling out the woke mob for trying to cancel one of the greatest comedians ever.
Lunatics trying to cancel them.
Yep.
Going after Chappelle, going after Rogan, going after all these different comedians who stood strong, stood their ground, and continued to do their art, in which we need badly now in this crazy-ass world we live in.
White, never one to avoid controversy, praised Chappelle for having the guts to say what everyone else is too scared to say. He highlighted how rare it is for someone in Hollywood to stand up to the woke mob and the courage it takes to keep pushing forward, even with the constant attacks.
I don't give anybody a leash.
Well, I'm saying you...
A leash?
like...
Free speech. Gonna control what people say. Gonna tell people what to believe. Gonna tell people... I don't fucking tell any other human being what to say, what to think, and there's no leashes on any of them. What is your question?
I was asking that question. I'll move on, though.
Yeah, probably a good idea. That's ridiculous to say I give somebody a leash.
White also gave props to Netflix for backing Chappelle during the backlash over The Closer. When protesters demanded to be removed, Netflix stood solid, showing real leadership when most companies would have folded under pressure.
Free speech, brother. People can say whatever they want and they can believe whatever they want.
Now, here's where things got really interesting. Chappelle has repeatedly called out cancel culture for what it really is, a game.
I think whether the people that are complaining that he's going to be on Saturday Night Live, I think what's going on now is like they want someone to be 100% compliant to whatever ideology they're a part of. And any deviation of that is problematic. Whether it's because they think, like I saw an article that said Elon Musk donated $150 million to some charity and they called him a cheapskate.
That's hilarious.
How hilarious is that?
Well, wait till they see when I'm a billionaire. Talk about, get ready for this cheapskate. No, my brother.
But it was such a shitty article. It's just a poorly written knucklehead article.
It's again, like you say, no one can be woke enough. You know, I'm torn because I like a warrior for a good cause, but I'm really into tactics.
People aren't outraged because they truly care. It's become a sport. They're just waiting for the next person to target. On the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan called it recreational outrage And he's right.
No, it's really gotten crazy. It's gotten to the point, like, I've seen, I'm not going to name names, but I've seen, like, you know, a tweet from a fellow comic telling comics what jokes you shouldn't talk about this topic. It's like, who the fuck are you? It's like, there's already going to be enough people doing that. You're going to do, like, cannibalism now? I'm not saying the points that they're making don't need to be made. I'm not saying that their complaints are not just. It's the execution of it.
Yes.
You're going to go through intimidation and destroying people, like,
exactly,
people's careers, and people, you have to publicly apologize. It's like,
they're bullying people.
Yeah.
So, where does this leave Hollywood? Well, Hollywood is mad. The woke elites are stressing because they have no idea how to deal with someone like Dave Chapelle. He's too big, too powerful to cancel. Hollywood wants to silence him, but here's the twist. Every time they try, his audience just keeps growing.
Am I canceled or not?
3 weeks later, comedian Dave Chapelle is still under fire.
People are fed up with the woke agenda and tired of being told what they can and can't laugh at. Chapelle gives them exactly what they want, a comedian who isn't afraid to push boundaries and say what everyone else is too scared to say.
I started doing stand-up comedy when I was 14. I'll never forget the first time I was on stage. The guy that introduced me was a guy named J.T. Newton. I'm 47. I can close my eyes and remember the introduction like it was yesterday.
So, what's next for Dave? Will Hollywood ever figure out how to handle him? And will the woke mob finally take him down? And honestly, we wouldn't bet on it. Chappelle's not just a comedian. He's a cultural force. And as long as he keeps doing what he does best, his audience will only keep growing. Please let me know in the comments what you think about that. And if you like this video, then I'm 100% sure you'll like the one that's on the screen too. Go see it now. See you in future uploads.